I think it might be time to normalize being single and alone.
Can we start normalizing being single?
No one prepares you for the loneliness that you feel in your 20s.
So a lot of ex-supermodels, a lot of top-tier women are very lonely people.
Why do women need something to be normalized? If they're hitting the wall, then that needs to be normalized. If they're lonely, that needs to be normalized as well. If they're getting pumped and dumped by Chads and Tyrone, that needs to be normalized. Why can't they just face reality?
The pretty girls are often loneliest most.
I'm 33, turning 34 next month, and I'm just fucking done dating.
We need to normalize being young and being single.
Something I had to learn is that it's okay to admit that you're lonely.
The difference between men and women when it comes to loneliness. Men internalize and accept their condition with stoicism. Women normalize, make excuses and deny the truth in a perpetual state of emotional immaturity. It's like everyone else has to do something or accept something if they are doing it. Instead of improving themselves, they need to drag everyone else down. Second, as a man who experienced true loneliness as a young man, I realize these women are whiners who have options, but they always want more and better. And if they can't get it, would rather have the spotlight and pity party pay attention to their not getting everything they want, rather than on men who cannot even get what they need. https://www.youtube.com/shorts/4vchpsqdlig. Some things are just universal with women. And I'll say this again. It's something that I tell guys every time. Women overspend, live paycheck to paycheck, and have so much emotional baggage that their ability to attach as a couple is permanently lost.
Being in your late 20s is so hard. I've seen a few people talk about this and just kind of the loneliness of your late 20s, and especially people who are kind of in this middle stage of, hey, I'm not married, don't have kids, not in a relationship, but I'm also not going out every weekend. I spend a lot of my time by myself. I live alone. I come home from work, I go to the gym, I spend my evenings alone. And on the weekend lately, I feel like I've been so exhausted that all I want to do is like spend time by myself. And I'm struggling with questions about work. You know, am I passionate about what I'm doing? Am I good at it? Should I be traveling right now and not working? Or should I be trying to work remotely so that I can travel? Like, there's just all these things that I think I would like to experience. And it's hard to know, well, when am I going to experience those things?
They turn to antidepressants and other legal drugs like alcohol and cigarettes when they are in their mid-30s and early 40s and have trouble finding a man who truly wants them as a mate. However, this does not imply that men pay them no attention. Some males will thirst for any woman out there no matter what sort they are. She becomes more manly the more marriages and children she has. If I had to sum up how the remaining women think, I'd say ideology triumphs over biology. They ridicule guys, demonize them, and treat them with total disdain. Here are a few additional facts in case they still need them. When women have over 10 intimate partners, their desire to get married to a man is little more than a last-ditch effort. Pair bonding is virtually impossible, and research indicates that she probably contains seed from several guys.
So, up until recently, I really thought that this idea of ghosting people was a Gen Z thing. And then I got ghosted by a 30-year-old, and I thought, this is very confusing. I thought we were adults. I didn't think we were still in middle school or even high school. I didn't think we were doing that. I'm just wondering, is it just like a lack of decency for other human beings? A couple years ago, I went on a couple dates with this guy, and I wasn't feeling it. And I was like, I just don't think this is gonna work, but he was a good guy. And I was like, he deserves communication. And so I made the phone call, because he had asked, he wanted to take me out to a really nice dinner, and I was like, oh, I just can't have him spend that much money on me when I don't see it moving forward. And I just said, hey, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoy you as a person. I really don't see this going anywhere. I thought that that's what adults do, Anyway, so it's no shock that I was surprised.
Modern women did everything they could to capture and have the essence of power they thought would make them happy by working the corporate ladder up until their 40s. But realized a little too late that they had a natural need to nurture families, settle down, have a loving relationship with men, and become good mothers. And now that they've been inundated with feminist doctrine, They can't even confess that they should have taken the conventional route and lived in accordance with their feminine nature. For men, navigating the minefield of being expected to initiate all interactions while not being awkward, while being irrationally confident and outgoing, while trying not to weird a woman out for qualities that make you unique despite those qualities, while being fairly common and normal, and while trying to simultaneously be respectful of consent, the list just goes on and on and on and never seems to stop. The majority of young men do not earn the kind of money that most women dream of. It's hard to live your own life while being on guard against losing someone's transitory interest, who is deliberately seeking any conceivable red flag to give an excuse to ghost you. I believe there is a propensity to downplay how harsh dating is for young men in today's society. Hitting the wall is one thing, but the fact that women don't even realize why that is a problem for the majority of women is another. And that's something women might want to look at? So, when women hit the age where they've had all their fun and know that they'd soon be hitting the wall, that's the time when you hear them say, "Well, I wish to reconnect myself to God. I'm trying to make amends with myself. I would like to meet a decent guy." Or, they start yapping like the woman in the first clip. Right between 29 and 31 years old is when you'll start to hear this kind of discourse from women. When that happens, the woman might think, "Oh, I'm not into the usual bad boys anymore. During my time in college, I was so insane. I did so much that is now all documented on tape, including the foam cannon party in Cancun. But I'm no longer like that. I am not that. I'm going to move forward carefully, responsibly, and decently, just like the decent woman I am now. I'm worth more now than I was then. I'm valuable. I'm not just valuable on camera like I was before. I'm a God-fearing, decent woman now. All those guys are history. My notch count has been reset." In terms of psychology, there are 3 components to personality: ID, ego, and superego. The ego tells the ID, "You know, we're 29 right now, and we can't really do what we used to do. We have to think of our future, because we're not as hot as we used to be. We're kind of hitting the wall, but not hitting the wall," in response to the ID's desire for hot men. We can see it happening. Therefore, we must make preparations now. We need to start thinking about long-term security since we could not have enough money, or it might just be an emotional issue. In response, the ID answers, "No, we want to have fun. We will have fun. We want to return to our previous position." It seems as though there is a fight. It resembles a conflict between 2 opposing egos. The one that wants to act morally is the ego, and the one that really wants to fly straight is the ID. It tries to think ahead as if they won't be as hot as they'd like when they are 33, or as hot as if they were at age 23. The inner dialogue will go like this: "I want someone interesting, fun, and hot, but he has to really shake my world and lay pipe like no one other." But then the ego goes no. So, for a woman, the transitioning phase is vital. This phase is when she's 28 or 29 years old and transitioning into her 30s, a vital stage. Now, why do I say that? Well, because if you go and you look at the 30-year mark and compare it with the 23-year-old mark for women, you will notice that women start to decline at around the age of 23 in terms of SMV. And by the time they hit 30, it's almost rock bottom for them. They know they're at the end of the line. Research has also supported this. A 30-year-old woman needs to look ahead for her own security if you look at her. But you'll also realize that for women nowadays, the average age of the first marriage is approximately 28 to 29. It takes roughly 2 years longer for guys. In the United States, it is currently about 30 or 31. But at that point, it's no accident that the average age of the first marriage starts to rise just as things start to change. How convenient for women. Have all the fun that you want to have, and then just when you're about to hit the wall, redeem yourself in front of God and society, and start over. That's when they've got to fly straight, and that's when women are looking for a guy. It's time for the bad guys against the dads, the exciting guys that they had fun with in their past, and then the reasonable, boring, and financially stable guys who can be the father of their children. It's just something to think about. By the time they're 23, they think they're the queens of the world and spend the next 7 years in paradise with their Chads ad Tyrones. But as soon as they come close to hitting the wall, all hell breaks loose and they completely change their perspective in life. And the panic really does set in when they're 29. And this transitioning phase is undoubtedly tough on women because they realize that their part is almost over, and they're never going to have the sort of fun they've been having for the last couple of years. Like when they go to a club and have all guys swooning over them, they can't have that. A woman in her mid-30s can dress as much as she wants, or barely, and no one will really care, compared to one who's in her prime in her early 20s. They're literally at the SMV peak at that age. And the irony is that when these women grow old, and if you hear them talking about this stuff, they will say things like, "Oh, I would have never partied in my 20s. I would advise every girl to be God-fearing and stay away from the bad boys because they are bad news." And I can bet you that if they get asked out by a Chad or Tyrone the next day, they'll go out with him. Thanks for watching The Circle of Kings. As always, we're looking forward to your support. So please hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything all kings like yourself need to know.